Hello, good morning. Welcome to JoyNews. Desk. We're coming to you live from our studios in Kokomlemle. Coming up this morning, we put the spotlight on the National Health Insurance Scheme, which appears to be struggling, forcing NHIS card-bearing patients at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital to pay more for basic health care.
I use the National Health Insurance for my card, but when I'm about to do the lab, I pay the extra too. I paid, so I can say it's only for the card, because for the extra I paid, the lab too I paid for it.
This morning, Accra Academy Senior High School plunged into darkness as Electricity Company of Ghana disconnects the school from the national grid due to unpaid bills.
It has never happened before, and even our home masters that pay for their prepaid, they are still in the blackout, which is a shock to all of us.
We hear from the ECG shortly on this. Also this morning, Ghana Police Service expresses outrage at what it calls an unfortunate statement made by Deputy Commissioner of Police Gabriel Wabu during the launch of JoyNews' Election 2024 comprehensive coverage of the elections.
In its ongoing vigorous training, of course, equipment have been gotten, and as at now, we still have even recruits under training, and all is geared towards 2024 election.
We'll bring you a statement from the police and also some analysis on this situation. Also, the Patriotic Party unveils Bawumia's 30-member campaign team to play pivotal roles in its quest to secure power in the 2024 elections.
The National Secretary of the party will be in charge of the campaign operations.
Meanwhile, the NPP NEC has set up a 3-member committee to communicate outcome of the Yendi parliamentary elections as it pronounces judgment on 4 other outstanding parliamentary elections. We'll bring you details of all of that. We're also live on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and X Spaces via JoyNews on TV. My personal handle is @Denana Aisha. Please do stay for details. Students and teachers of the Accra Academy Senior High School last night were plunged into total darkness as the school faced disconnection by the Electricity Company of Ghana over unpaid accumulated bills. The situation affected the studies of nearly 4,000 students of the school on Monday. Stanley Nible visited the school and came through with the following report.
The Accra Academy Senior High School is indebted to the Electricity Company of Ghana. On Monday, February 19th, personnel from the ECG went to disconnect the school from the national grid. Teachers' bungalows, which consume prepaid credit, were also not spared. Eventually, the school was plunged into thick darkness as some students resorted to the use of torchlights for their studies at prep. But even that, not everyone had the opportunity to study because they do not have torchlights. For the boys' school prefect, the situation is difficult.
It was a surprise because it has never happened before, and even our home masters that pay for their prepaid, they are still in the blackout, which is a shock to all of us. So all that we are asking of the authorities is that due diligence must be done so that our state can be brought back to normalcy.
If it continues, how is it going to affect, your activities on campus?
It will go a long way to affect us because basically everything we do here requires electricity, from our ironing to even our assembly times and everything. So the absence of electricity will affect us big time.
The school authorities were furious.
The students were at prep, and prep, there were no lights. So if students have been given assignments and things that they need to do and submit the following day, what will happen to it? They can't submit them because there was no light for them to work.
He maintained that bills incurred by the school are paid by the Ghana Education Service. Hence, ECG should recourse to GES for clearance of all outstanding bills.
They came here this evening and told us we are owing. So my colleague that they spoke to explained to them that, yes, if you are owing, we are not the ones who are supposed to pay. You know where you've been getting your money from. And this is not the first time. They've been paying monies to you. They can attest to that fact. That it's not the school that pays. They know where the money comes from. So if you come to the school and because it has not been fulfilled, you want to cut us or take us from the national grid, what are you doing to ourselves?
School currently is not aware how much it is indebted to ECG and the number of months in arrears. Accra Academy owns a generator that provides alternative power, but access to fuel presents another layer of a tough challenge to the school.
Yes, the school has a generator which we can power, but the fuel that we have can even power for just an hour. And before you came, we put it on, but because you don't have enough fuel, it went off as well. So at management meeting, I'm sure all these things will come out and we'll see how best we can resolve them.
Earlier this month, the Electricity Company of Ghana initiated moves to retrieve all monies owed it by customers so it can finance its operations and also pay debts owed the independent power producers.
I've been joined by External Communications Director at the ECG, Leila Abubakar. Would also be joined by Executive Director of IFES, Dr. Peter Ante. Grateful for your time, ladies and gentlemen. Let me start with you, Leila. How much does Accra Academy owe, which warranted a blackout?
Thank you, Aisha. I believe from the docket that the team held yesterday, they owe in excess of 480,000 Ghana cedis, and they haven't made any payments since June 2023.
Okay, so as we speak, the school is still in darkness?
I believe so, but conversations are being had to reconnect them as soon as possible. What we need is an assurance of payment as soon as possible, because the debt has been sitting there for quite some time.
And you're talking about how much again? 400,000?
Over 480,000.
Okay, so what would it take for the school to come back and not to go back to darkness?
I believe whoever the paying agency for the school is would have to make a case for them, either through payment or through some assurance to ECG of a swift payment for the school. That's the only way we can see that the school will be reconnected soon. Regardless, we are not doing this because we are insensitive. There is a docket that the National Task Force works with, and wherever they find themselves, they do the disconnection. They have a conversation with whoever the management is. So earlier on, the lawyer who is in charge of prosecutions, investigations at ECG, lawyer Bariga, confirmed that indeed we've been communicating with management of the school to remind them of the debt that is owed. And so whoever is paying, if they're saying they do not pay for themselves, whoever is paying should be made aware of this debt. And so when it comes to disconnections and revenue mobilization and revenue protection, it goes beyond us to want to follow up on who exactly is paying for the school. So that responsibility solely lies or lay before the secondary school to get their bills paid.
So you said there's been some kind of engagement since this disconnection. What kind of engagement are you talking about?
The schools are metered. The meters are under the names of the schools, and so the bills are sent to the schools. So when there's debt, we go to them. There's always a task force on the ground visiting those who owe us the most. We have conversations with them, and we know that this is an edifice for educational purposes with young people there. And so it's not as if we just went there yesterday and disconnected them out of the blue. There has been some engagement with the management of the school.
But as we speak, there's no, has there been any pledge or is there indication that there's something being done about it?
I do not have any current information regarding how far they have gone, but I do know that it wouldn't take long if we do get some assurance from somewhere that the money would be paid to us. It wouldn't take long for us to put them back on.
Somewhere, do you know who normally foot the bills? It should be government, isn't it?
Well, I believe that there's some components of it that comes from the Ghana Education Service. I don't know in what manner these payments are facilitated on behalf of the school. What we know is our customer on our docket, on our base, we know that it is Accra Academy that owes. And for yesterday's operation, whilst in the Accra West region, they were part of the highest debtors. And so, unfortunately, this happened.
All right, so until you get those assurances or you get some money paid, the school will still be in darkness, correct?
I cannot say that, yes, for sure. Because we've had several engagements with other organizations that owe. They didn't particularly have to pay us all the money or pay everything on that particular day to get back, depending on how essential it is to them and who speaks on their behalf, of how the conversation goes. If you tell us that within 24 hours you are going to make some payments, of course we'll put you back on supply, but we'll come back after 24 hours to disconnect if you haven't met up to your promise.
Leila Abubakar is External Communications Director at ECG. This is something we'll be monitoring to see how it unfolds. I mean, it's a secondary school, and they are in total darkness as we speak. Dr. Auntie is on the other line. The Accra situation is not the first. We recently also heard from the Fansipim headmaster of a similar situation there. I mean, how do you feel that an education facility, in fact, a secondary school, will be plunged into darkness for non-payment of electricity bills?
Thank you very much, and good morning to your viewers. I think it's very unfortunate that we still continue to have news of these incidents happening in our schools. I think somewhere last year, December around 18th, 19th, there was a discussion about this even on the floor of Parliament, and they spoke extensively about the rampant light-offs in various educational institutions. And I think it was made clear that the Ministry of Education and the Ghana Education Service should take proactive measures to ensure that at least our secondary schools are not taking off the national grid just because they owe. And I believe the impact of this on the students' academic work and general well-being is enormous, and nobody can downplay that. So it's unfortunate that schools in Accra are experiencing this. So you can imagine what is happening in schools outside Accra and the challenges that these school administrators, especially the headmasters and the other people are going through to ensure that these kids are safe under such circumstances. It's very, very unfortunate.
It does appear that's not the only challenge they face. There are a host of them being faced by these second cycle institutions. Recently, we heard from the Wesley Girls High School of some students sleeping on the floor. We've heard similar stories from Ebri Girls. How did we get here, Dr. Auntie?
Well, I will say that we got here because the leaders decided that they will not admit that there are challenges. And when these things come from schools that are high class, I feel very happy. Because if you are a school in one of these villages, Futu or those other ones, when you speak, they wouldn't mind you. But if Wesley Girls is complaining that their students are sleeping on the floor, the students are sitting on plastic chairs in the classroom, then it tells you the enormity of the challenge that the secondary education system is going through at this point in time. First and foremost, we ask ourselves, we are using the computer placement system. This is a technological something. You know the number of students that the school can admit at any point in time. How would it ever happen that within that particular school, the students will be able to admit more students to the extent that the student population will exceed the capacity of the school? You either look at those who are doing the placement, or you go and do an audit at the school level and question the headmaster or the headmistress why that situation exists. But we all know the protocol lists are so much, there's pressure on these school administrators to admit, even when the authorities know that the school is already full. So we have gone circle, and then we are back to the same challenges that we keep talking about our secondary education. And all these challenges have a role to play on the psyche of the students that are going through this. As the child goes to school and sleeping on the floor, he gets to the classroom, he's not having a comfortable seat to sit on, he wants to study at the night, the lights are off. These have impact on the child's total well-being and personality formation. At the same time, on the kind of education that we are offering these people, we need to accept that there are challenges, and it boils down to finances, and we all know that. And that is why we have proposed for a long time that it will not do any bad thing to government if government decides to find another means of supporting the funding of the senior high school, the free senior high school system. And that means that when the government is not getting the money from his efforts to go and support these challenges, there is an additional source of income that is coming in to support the little that is coming from government. And this is something that you wouldn't want to say that it is not an important proposal for government to consider. So until our leaders accept that there are challenges, real challenges, and when the lady was making these complaints, the president was sitting there, the Minister of Education was also sitting there. So they heard the challenges Wesley Girls is going through. And that is just an example. There are a lot of challenges that other schools are going through. They might not be bold enough to point it out because they might be afraid of the consequences of those pronouncements. But this should be a clarion call on the government to think through how they are implementing this policy. A good policy which is not implemented well will never yield the needed results or outcome.
Dr. Anti, we definitely have to move from here. It cannot be that we keep on talking about some of these challenges and then leave it there. How do we move from here? Because honestly, it's so disheartening hearing some of these stories.
Aisha, I'm going to disappoint you. We only move from here when the one in authority agrees that there's a problem. Because we can talk about it, we can write about it, at best we can demonstrate about it. But you have no power or authority to change the system. Okay, so when the one in authority agrees that, yes, there's a problem, we need another way to handle how we are going around all these things. Because you see, when you remove the barrier of finance, every literature, anybody into policy planning will tell you, in education system, will tell you that the next variable you have to put under check is enrollment. So we knew that the very moment that we were introducing free SHS, enrollment was going to go out to the roof. We were able to bring in some innovation and then do the double track. Once we were doing the double track, we should have made conscious effort to improve upon the infrastructure in our schools. Now we don't know what is happening. We decided to go and do other kinds of projects within the same education sector. Okay, and then those schools that we know the number of students that would want to go to those schools every year, we did 1 or 2 infrastructure challenge projects there, and we left it just as it is. So as it stands now, the only thing is for the leaders, the managers of our education system, to accept that there is a serious problem at hand and it requires serious attention. And when we do that, then we'll be able to now sit around the table and find solutions to that particular problem. They hold the answer to the challenges that we are facing. And today accept that is a challenge, or there is a challenge. We are going to continue with the talking and the interaction and the complaints that we constantly do. I know schools where parents are contributing money to go and pay for prepaid. I know schools where parents are contributing money to tar the dormitories because the dormitories look like an untarred road. I know schools where parents are contributing money to buy beds. Why should it be so? Because the monies that we have or we should use to continue to provide these things for the schools are not coming. The government is the only source of funding for our secondary education. That should not happen. There should be an additional source. And that additional source, for me, I don't care where it's coming from. But so far as it's going to support the implementation of a policy that will enable my children to attend secondary school for free, I think that we need to pursue that particular tangent.
He's Executive Director of Institute for Education Studies. He's also an education economist. Let's get to security, because the Ghana Police Service has expressed outrage at what it calls an unfortunate statement made by Deputy Commissioner of Police Gabriel Prince Wabu during the launch of JoyNews' Election 2024 comprehensive coverage. The DCOP indicated that the military will not be involved in the security operations in the 2024 elections. But the Ghana Police Service in a release says what the Deputy Commissioner of Police stated did not represent the views of the Ghana Police Service. Before we bring you the statement from the Ghana Police Service, let's bring you exactly what DCOP Gabriel Wabu said.
Sensitization is ongoing. We and the sister security, that is the prisons, the fire, immigration, all are on the table. They all doing what they can do to finish. Training is ongoing, vigorous training, of course. Equipment have been gotten, and as at now, we still have even recruits under training, and all is geared towards 2024 elections. And I tell you what, officers of probably 300 are going to go to the college, and they would definitely pass out before 2024 elections. So these are some of the ways and then the measures that we have put in place to, see to it that 2024 election becomes a success. Apart from that,
the DCOP, I mean, you're talking about training and all, but for many Ghanaians also, learning from what happened in 2020, where some Ghanaians lost their lives during the elections, they would want to know, what is it that the Ghana Police Service has put in place to ensure that not one person loses his life during this election period?
Yeah, just as I said, if you looked at 2023, the elections that we conducted you could see that all were incident-free. This is the status, and we have learned out of it. We have taken notes out of it, and so we know where we are moving.
What have you learned out of these?
Like how we organize it, how we organize all those elections that within last year, and whatever happened in 2022, a lesson has been learned out of it. We're not maybe going to involve the military as it were, because it was not even the police that came out with this issue. So it's going to be only the military, the police, the prisons, fire, and then immigration. That is going to conduct these elections. They are going to support us. It is our baby. It is the police baby, but we want to co-opt in our sister security to assist in one way or the other.
Has that been sorted out, though, that when it comes to elections, you are the primary security agency, and in fact, in the coordination process, you will have to request if you need additional support, and we don't have a situation where we have the military going into a place and creating this tension that we see sometimes that then leads to violence, and then the police is held responsible. But there's a military that has been deployed sometimes without your knowledge. And I'm saying this on the back of Ayawaso West Wagon. And when the commission work was done, it was streamlined with the police being the arrowhead. Has that been sorted out for this year?
That has been sorted out by the Inspector General of Police with his POMAB members. And it's a clear-cut issue. Every internal issue is the police duty. And that is for sure on place. So we don't have any thing that we need to maybe recall the past when it comes to this year's elections.
Well, in a statement issued by the Ghana Police Service, the service has distanced itself from the statement made by the DCOP Wabu, and I'll share excerpts of that statement with you. It says the attention of the Ghana Police Service has been drawn to an unfortunate statement made by DCOP Gabriel Wabu during a panel discussion on JoyNews on Monday. The statement made by DCOP concerning election security are unfounded and do not represent the position of the Ghana Police Service. We would therefore like to dissociate the service completely from the statement and apologize to the Ghana Armed Forces. The conduct of the officer is being subjected to internal disciplinary processes of the Ghana Police Service. We want to state that under the National Election Security Task Force architecture, the Ghana Police Service works with all other security services, including the Ghana Armed Forces, to ensure peace, security, law and order before, during and after elections. The approach to the 2024 general elections will not be different. Now, the Ghana Police Service wishes to appeal to the general public to continue to support us and other sister security agencies as we work together to deepen our democratic values during the 2024 elections and beyond. And it's signed by Assistant Commissioner of Police, Director, Public Affairs, Grace Ansa Akrofi. I've been joined on the line by Dr. Adam Bona, who is a security analyst. On the other line is Professor Enim. He is also a security expert from the he's a security expert. He's also joining us for this conversation. Let me start with you, Mr. Adam Bona. First, whose duty is it for security to be provided in the event of elections? I mean, as captured in the country's national security strategy.
Well, yes, good morning to you, good morning to your listeners, and also good morning to my brother, Professor Ian. Well, I would say that for internal security and all about internal security, the foremost security organization that must deal with it is the police. And so, and that also includes elections and elections-related activities. And so, as far as I am concerned, and as far as our regulations and the Constitution is concerned, internal security is something that the police must lead. And so I would say that election is a matter of internal security, but that notwithstanding, when it comes to general elections, you realize that the police is usually overstretched. And if you look at the police-citizen ratio, at the moment we should be doing about probably 1 to about 850 per citizen. And if you look at how many constituencies and how many electoral areas we have and the flashpoint, generally the police alone cannot do it. It's the reason why they would usually, as a convention, rope in other social security agencies, the immigration, fire, prisons, and all the others, and including the military. But some of us from civil society, some of us from academia, some of us from ordinary citizens, have raised issues with the work of the military, especially when we have had challenges, especially in election-related violence that the military themselves were involved by our towards work on Accra and other places. And we have suggested and actually attempted to reaffirm the fact that the military is the last bastion when it comes to internal security. So we should not usually put them in the front line. Let's get them to be on standby. If probably things go out of hand, then we can rope them in. But in most cases, we bring them in together with the other agencies. And when issues happen, it becomes a blame game. And you and I know that you don't deploy the military without firearms. And when you deploy the military with firearms, you don't give them blunt bullets or rubber bullets. You have to give them light bullets. And when they come under threat, we know in the Accra hearing, the CEO, one of the commanders who was caught, actually said that they don't have riot control gear. It means that if you deploy the military during election, and you are not tactical enough, and people begin to riot, and they have their firearms, chances are that they might shoot at them because they are not trained to deal with rioters. They don't have riot gear and all that. And so some of us have asked that the use of the military, we need to be more strategic, not put them in the front line, let them be on standby. When things are going out of hand, then we bring them in. And so if you ask me, I would say that the police statement, I think, is not what Wabu said, DCOP Wabu said, it's not the official position of the police. I think so, their statement. But some of us, it's something that some of us are saying, the deployment of the military in civilian populated area, we need to gradually do away with that mentality because it is not helping develop our democracy. And 2024 election is going to be tension-packed, and so we need to be more strategic.
On the other side is Professor Kwesi Enin, who has also joined us. Prof, I mean, listening to Dr. Adam Bona, and also from what we've read from the security strategy of the country, isn't the DCOP stating the obvious that election security is a sole duty for the police and not the military?
Well, I think it is the military, it is the Ghana Police Service that is the lead agent. But it is always a collaborative venture. So if you remember how the election security framework looks like, every single statutory security institution is part of that framework with the Ghana Police Service in the lead. Because in almost all elections, we need the first, the immigration, customs, and prison help or support the police in providing at all the X number of thousands of police stations. The military is the backbone to be able to deal with situations when they get out of hand. And I think it is crucial in the last couple of elections that the Ghana Police Service has honed its skills first in terms of identifying, the polling stations and the constituencies that may have some difficulty. And then together with the intelligence, they find ways and means of responding to those and preventing them from getting out of hand. So the statement that the police will be in the lead and the military will not be part of it, I think they didn't get out well. But for election security, it is a collaborative framework in which the Ghana Police Service is the lead agent.
Okay, so that means that at any point in time, there could be the need for other security agencies to offer a hand to the Ghana police, but it's their sole duty to produce, to provide security during elections. But over the period, is that what has happened? Because we've always seen the military involved in elections.
No, the military must show presence, but a distant presence that sends a signal to potential troublemakers that, look, we are here. The essence of that operational strategy is to create a secure environment so that all people can go out there and go. And it is critical that the signal is sent that you are safe, you are secure, that you can go home, come back and witness the counting, and you can rejoice, and no one is going to attack you. So all the hullabaloo that we hear now, the threat that people are filming themselves on TikTok and sending it, it becomes critical that the statutory agencies, security agencies, indicate that they have the capacity to deal with all the potential troublemakers. So if you remember, just a couple of days ago, there was some clown somewhere around Kumasi or so, who made TikTok saying that you will kill people, there will be war. You see, in every responsible society, you cannot have people, because we are having an election, making videos of themselves and threatening war. Under the Constitution, it is only the person invested with the power to declare war who must do that. Individual citizens, under no circumstance, can threaten war. So the combination or the support of the Ghana Armed Forces and also in showing presence is very key. But I agree with my brother Adam that riot control is the prerogative of the Ghana State Service, except in the situations when it gets absolutely out of control. Then once more, we need the armed forces to but if you cross the line, irrespective of who you are, you must be dealt with.
I'm grateful for your time. Professor Kwesini is a security expert, and Dr. Adam Warner is also a security analyst. Thank you so much for joining us. Now, let's get on to politics. On your election headquarters, Dr. Mahamudu Bawumia's campaign has gained momentum as the National Executive Committee of the New Patriotic Party has finalized 30 individuals to fight for power in the December elections. Key figures in the campaign team include former ministers Nan Boji, Dominic Nitiwo, former flag bearer hopeful engineer Kwabena Ejapon, and Hawa Kumsin. The announcement was after a closed-door meeting between the National Executive Committee and the National Council of the party. General Secretary Justin Frimpong Kodia made the official announcement.
We will have the national chairman, the former President J. Kufuor, President Nana Akufo-Addo, Chairman and members of the National Council of Elders, former National Chairman Mr. Freddie Blay, Madam Elizabeth Ohene, Reverend Joyce Ayi, and Madam Akusia Frima Osei Pari as campaign or as members of the Campaign Advisory Committee. The General Secretary of the party will be in charge of the campaign operations. And the wings of the party, the volunteer groups, the identifiable groups, the persons with disability desks will all be under operations to be headed by the General Secretary and deputized by the national organizer, Henry Nana Boakye. The campaign strategist and campaign chairman, there's a difference between the flag bearer position. Flag bearer is the overall chairman for the campaign coordinating committee. But the campaign chairman and strategist will be Honorable Dambuchi, former General Secretary and MP for Accra. The campaign, we have two campaign vice chairpersons, Mr. Fred Owari and Nana Akomia, as the two campaign vice chairpersons. We have Honorable Frederick Opariansa as the campaign manager for the 2024 elections, and he will have 3 deputies. For deputy campaign manager in charge of research and administration is Dr. Antoinette Thibault Darkon. Deputy campaign manager for parliamentary campaign will be Honorable Obi Amwa, MP for Kriapem South. Then deputy campaign manager in charge of presidential campaign will be Dr. Ibrahim Anyas. For electoral affairs committee, it will be headed by Chairman Peter McMenu as the chairman for the Electoral Affairs Committee of Campaign 2024.
Meanwhile, the National Executive Committee of the NPP has set up a 3-member committee on the Yendi parliamentary elections. Justin Kodia again.
On Yendi, the National Executive Committee took a decision and has given the matter to a 3-member committee to communicate the decision of the National Executive Committee to all interested parties. And once they communicate the matter to them, and whatever decision that has been taken will further be communicated to our friends from the media. But we feel that we need to speak to the parties first before we come out with the decision of the National Executive Committee. Then again, the National Executive Committee also took the opportunity to reiterate that per our rules and regulations, we said that in constituencies where we don't have certain members of parliament, in the rules and regulations, officers were to recuse themselves from their various positions. And after the elections, they will assume their positions. That rule still stands.
I've been joined by Professor Kobe Mensah, who is a political marketing strategist and a lecturer at the University of Ghana Business School. The last time we gauged your mood in terms of branding, whether Bawumia's message will resonate with the people, we said that you had a problem with the fact that he took the credits for the positives in Akufo-Addo's government and actually tried to distance himself from the negatives of Akufo-Addo's government. How can the campaign team leverage on this brand of Dr. Bawumia?
Aisha, thanks very much for having me. I think, firstly, you would say that whenever a campaign is actually instituted, you would want to look at where you can draw strength from. Obviously, from the candidate's own profiling, from the party's own profile, of course, and from the policies that the campaign would set up. So you're looking at these three and where your strength can actually come from. I think that currently, as most people would agree with me, the candidacy of Dr. Bawumia is a little bit challenged because of the previous, positions that he's held, and of course, people don't seem to have actually kept through to those ones. So I suppose the campaign will be drawing mostly from the strength of the policies that they want to put forward. Of course, a little bit from the party's own strength, and that's why you see at the lineup of the old and the new, you'd see that they have prominently positioned former President, Kufuor and the current President Nana Addo with other statesmen, in the campaign hierarchy. That is the superstructure. That is actually demonstrating a certain united front, so that not mentioning some huge, figures in the party could send a signal of disunity. So they have to actually make sure that they mention these individuals as a campaign advisors to sort of serve as a superstructure. So for me, I think that the campaign will very much draw on the party's strength and the strength of the proposed policies, much more than what they would from the candidate itself, because the candidate lacks a certain level of credibility in the eyes of the Ghanaians. And so they would want to draw strength from the other two Ps.
You have like giants like former President Kufuor. You have the president himself as an advisor. You have Peter McMahon. We all know the kind of work he did for the NPP to get the NPP into power. You have people like Dan Kweku-Botwe. Are these people, is this a team that should send shivers down the spine of their major opponent, the NDC?
Well, you could say that. I'm not sure whether it will send them shivers, but of course, this is a very powerful team. I mean, if you look at Dan Botwe, for example, he had been part and parcel of Kufuor's successes in 2000, obviously 2004. If you look at McMahon, consummate expert within the field of campaigning and, of course, election matters. Of course, you have, the two key figures, former President, Kufuor, and then, of course, the current president serving as the top of the advisory unit. And then, of course, you have other, notable individuals. So clearly, it tells you a certain closing of the ranks. If anybody had doubts that perhaps the party was somehow broken, I mean, this announcement sort of demonstrates that they are quite united within, at least from the symbolism perspective. So no doubt the personalities mentioned in the campaign team, very, very strong. Of course, it would then come back to operations, implementation of the strategy. And then, of course, the strategy itself that they would actually leverage. My inkling is that they will leverage a lot more on the policy proposal. They look at it as forward-looking. And then, of course, on the party's strength, so that the party could actually gather every necessary vote that their strength can actually pull. Very much draw down on the campaign, on the presidential candidate and its strength, I think.
Professor Kobe Mensah, I'm grateful for your time. As we gear up to the 2024 elections, definitely we'll see how this pans out. The NDC is also yet to announce its campaign team. Then we can do a proper comparison of the two major political parties. Thank you, Professor Kobe Mensah, for your time. Let's get on to health issues. Imagine paying for a premium service, but you're compelled to pay more for the same services whenever it's time to access them. That is the story of subscribers of the National Health Insurance Scheme who are expressing frustration over the extra payments for services anytime they visit the hospital. In the first part of our feature series on the National Health Insurance Scheme, my colleague Kenneth JC takes a closer look at what's happening at the Kolebu Teaching Hospital.
Access to quality health care is no more a luxury ordinary people cannot afford, following the revival of the National Health Insurance Scheme.
Following its establishment in 2003, the National Health Insurance Scheme was intended to provide equitable access and financial coverage for basic health care services to all Ghanaians. But more than 2 decades after its establishment, the scheme appears to be struggling. At the Kolebu Teaching Hospital, which is the nation's biggest referral health center, patients from far and near come to receive medical care. However, quality health care here comes at a cost, even with a valid National Health Insurance card.
Most of the drugs I've been told to buy are not covered by the National Health Insurance Scheme.
Meet Cecilia Borden. Her son was knocked down by a car in the central region where they reside. He was rushed to the Fianquanta Hospital in the western region. But the son had to be quickly transferred to the Kolebu Teaching Hospital owing to the severity of his injuries. Cecilia shares how she has had to pay more money than she thought she would after being told the health insurance does not cover most of the medication needed for her son's treatment.
Initially, I was told the health insurance does not cover the cost of that drug, until the chemist informed me it is indeed covered by the National Health Insurance Scheme. Since then, I have paid for all the drugs that have been prescribed for my son. Almost by
300 million beso because doing measurement tono ebu do mutual 5 million ebu says me maton low kula 2 million.
In one of the corridors of the hospital is a pensioner and former staff of the Kolebu Teaching Hospital. His old age and deteriorating health means he frequents the hospital for medications and health advice. But he's worried his National Health Insurance card does not cover the cost of most of his medications. He often has to postpone his doctor's appointment, even at the risk of complications if his pension fund does not hit his account early. Without it, he wouldn't have the cash to cover his medication costs at the hospital.
It's only effective when it comes to consultation. When you have to see the doctor, you don't have to pay anything. But when after seeing the doctor, other facilities around, that's where you have to pay. Some of the expensive drugs, you'll be asked to go and pay. It's only the common drugs which are common, BP, paracetamol, and then if it is Bico or any other drug. But when it comes to the expensive ones, you are forced to go and buy, and it is likely that's the only medication which can save you. And formally, when I'm a GU patient, when I go, the drugs that can be provided is being catered by the National Health Insurance covers it. But for some years now, when I go, they only give me one of the drugs, and then the other ones I have to go and buy. When you go to X-ray or you go to lab, when there are expensive tests to be done, it's also you have to pay. If I'm even to pay to see the doctor, what do I do? If I don't have, what do I do? Which means before I come, I have to get money to come. If possible, I'm being paid and I'm not well, I have to wait when I'm being paid before I can come. And if I'm to die, I'll die.
In 2022, the National Health Insurance Authority added treatment of 4 childhood cancers to the National Health Insurance Scheme's benefit package. But several concerns continue to emerge about the effectiveness of the scheme and why it no longer covers the costs of some of the most basic diseases.
I think it's wealthy because looking at initial, when you come, you can use it to assess a lot of things. Now you can actually use it to pick your card right, and some of the drugs to cover it. Because I remember when I even brought my father, the drugs, it covered it. So we're actually happy with it. And the cards to, normally if you are supposed to pay 100 cedis or something, now it's reduced to 50 or some of them even 30, some of them 15, depending on what you are coming to do. So with the lab issue, that's the problem for me personally I have, because after the doctor have seen you, the consulting is also part of the insurance, it clears it. But the most important for me is the labs, because sometimes I think I heard that the labs can also be covered, but I realized that when you come it's different, it doesn't cover.
Belinda Quay is a mother who brought her sick daughter to the Kolebu Teaching Hospital for treatment. But her heart sank when she learned that most of the medicines the doctor prescribed for her daughter were not covered by the health insurance scheme.
I usually use the national health insurance for my card. But when I'm about to do the lab, I paid, the H3 too I paid. So I can say it's only for the card, because for the H3 I paid, the lab too I paid for it. Came here yesterday. Today we are just come to pick our card. We pay 15 cedis. They say because we have insurance, that's why we pay 15 cedis.
For the card?
Yeah. But yesterday we did another new card. But when we are coming today to see doctor, they say we will pay 15 cedis before we will take our card again. So I don't know whether because of insurance we pay 15 cedis, or if no insurance we will pay more than that. As I'm talking now, they've given me another lab and another H3, but all are not under insurance. I have to go outside and do it and bring it on Tuesday. So I don't think it works in other ways, but maybe for other people it works for them. Because I have H3 to do right now. I have this thing and the lab. Oh, yes, I have an H3 to do and lab. This one, private, they asked me to go somewhere and do it. This one, they said I should go to Kolebu, the main one, and do it. But I have to get there and see whether the insurance will cover it or not. But as for this one there, I'm going to do it outside. So the insurance doesn't cover it for me.
In the various parts of the hospital, patients continue to feel the pinch as they are asked to pay either extra for services at the hospital, or the scheme does not cover some basic services they expected it should cover. Kenneth Jesse, JoyNews, Accra.
That's how we draw the curtains on JoyNews Desk. My name is Aisha Ibrahim. Log on to myjoyonline.com for more of the news and updates of all the developing stories. To enjoy the rest of our programs.